Peter Dinklage comes into this as when Rachel Zegler was cast, he laughed at Disney saying it's fake progressivism.
Literally no offense to anything. They're very proud to cast a Latino actress as Snow White. It makes no sense to me. You're progressive in one way, but you're still making that backward story of 7 dwarves living in a cave. What the are you doing, man?
They're remaking the movie. They just got rid of the dwarfs. Okay,
but what do they call them?
Why would they get rid of the dwarves, though?
Magical creatures.
Because right now there's more dwarves on this podcast than there are in the new Snow White movie. And that's probably due to Peter Dinklage.
Yep.
Once hailed as the next shining star of Hollywood, Rachel Zegler suddenly found herself swallowed by what people are now calling the Snow White disaster. That word alone, disaster, barely captures the tidal wave of chaos, a storm of backlash, disastrous test screenings, backstage drama, and a controversy so fierce it almost capsized Disney's entire live-action dream.
The argument should have been from Peter Dinklage, there's power of being on TV, there's power of television, and to put 7 people with dwarfism on camera in a major Disney movie, there's still power there. If the story is offensive, change the story, don't change the characters.
And just when you thought the mess couldn't get any wilder, bam! Insiders started whispering that Rachel, behind the scenes, is quietly pointing the blame squarely at none other than Peter Dinklage. Yes, that Peter Dinklage. Suddenly, the internet reignited in a frenzy. Was Dinklage really at the root of all this madness? Why would Rachel single him out? Or is this just another twisted chapter in Hollywood's painful attempt to modernize a beloved fairy tale?
Said it's now being reported they won't be little people and will be called the 7 Bandits instead, which has fans outraged. The $200 million budget, this is likely going to fail and cost Disney $100 million. With that, I'm Charles Pearl, subscribe to learn something.
Way before Snow White ever hit the screen, drama was already bubbling beneath the surface. Disney had proudly boasted that they were reimagining the classic 1937 tale for a modern era, updating outdated themes and bringing a fresh lens. At first, fans didn't know what to think. Some celebrated the casting of Rachel Zegler, seeing it as a win for inclusivity. Others were skeptical, fearing Disney was about to take a beloved story and rip its heart out with too many updates.
We are now at a 1 out of 10 on IMDb for the new Snow White, and it couldn't happen to a better person. What is the lesson to be learned here with this Snow White disaster?
Yeah, we had more dwarfs than we did viewers in most of these theaters. And as you know, there were no dwarfs other than some CGI weird generated version of them.
And then came Peter Dinklage. Oh boy, Peter didn't just criticize. He slammed the idea of portraying the 7 dwarfs in what he felt would be a stereotypical, offensive way. His words hit like a bombshell, sparking major debate. Suddenly, Disney was scrambling, desperate to avoid the appearance of insensitivity.
The reason being that Peter Dinklage, who does have achondroplasia, finds the depiction of the 7 dwarfs very offensive. Peter Dinklage said that Disney casting Rachel Zegler is their way to feel good about themselves while ignoring a much bigger problem.
Meanwhile, Rachel Zegler stayed silent, at least publicly. Whether it was personal choice or ironclad studio contracts, she said nothing. But whispers from inside were deafening. Tensions were rising. Rumors swirled that the script was being yanked in different directions, desperately rewritten in response to Dinklage's critiques. The creative team completely split. No one could agree. Stick to the original or gut the dwarfs entirely.
I haven't seen it yet, have you?
I have not.
I don't have plans to see it. It sounds terrible. It just sounds awful.
And caught smack in the middle of this swirling chaos was Rachel, trapped in a role that kept changing underneath her feet. As filming wrapped, insider leaks painted a troubling picture. Chaotic edits, an uneven storyline, and a film that felt lost.
The fact that this film is completely falling apart, we're going to take a look at how bad this movie is actually doing in the box office, because it is hilariously bad. It is a complete and total humiliation for Disney, and like I said, they deserve it all, okay?
For a movie as legendary as Snow White, this wasn't just disappointing. It was devastating. The internal Disney battles grew fiercer. Some execs wanted to stick closer to the old magic, while others demanded radical changes. In the middle of this tug of war, Rachel Zegler, smiling on red carpets while inside, sources claimed she was beyond frustrated, venting privately, doing quiet damage control behind the scenes.
Do these orgies of CGI animation, recycling in a loveless format, the exact same, now every story is the same story about, again, a kick-ass female protagonist. Like, what? It's just so formulaic and rote and done without any love or originality whatsoever. I think that's the problem.
and the rumors kept getting crazier. There were even wild whispers about legal trouble following an alleged on-set confrontation, though nothing was ever confirmed. Still, the endless gossip didn't just hurt the movie, it shredded it. Even Disney diehards were calling the project a mistake. Critics? Brutal. Snow White was now seen as the poster child for everything wrong with modern Hollywood storytelling. By the time the film limped toward its release, the negativity around it was a full-blown inferno. And Peter Dinklage's early comments, still floating like a dark cloud over everything. Some hailed him a hero for forcing Hollywood to rethink representation. Others saw him as the match that lit a fire nobody could put out.
When you are in these kinds of roles, it is a privilege, and you actually have some contractual obligations that you're supposed to be doing no harm, and in fact, above doing no harm, adding value to elevating this artwork that you've put together with a whole army of people who, dedicate their lives to it. So I understand where the criticisms are coming from.
And who took the brunt of all that fury? Rachel Zegler. As the lead actress, she became the easiest, most visible target for a disappointed, angry public. Snow White disaster wasn't just an internet meme, it was a cultural event. Every time Rachel smiled in an interview or posted a photo online, it was dissected.
I really hope that I have a similar heart to hers. She has this beautiful, unending kindness and positive outlook towards the world and the world around us. I wish I could be as positive as she is at times. That's certainly a difference we have, but I think it's a very human thing to not always see the bright side. But that is part of the beauty of Snow White. It has been for 88 years now that she just sees the good in everyone and everything. And I hope that I and so many people who watch this film can embody that as well.
Online, the fandom split clean down the middle. Some still clung to hope that maybe, just maybe, the film could find its footing. Others had already given up, calling it a lost cause. And in the background, rumors started swirling even louder, that Disney, desperate to escape the stink of failure, might quietly start from scratch, fast-tracking a brand new Snow White with a whole new cast. Jenna Ortega's name shot to the top of fan wish lists, a young actress known for her edge, wit, and emotional depth. Could she save Snow White? Could she reclaim the magic Rachel's version seemed to have lost?
As an actor, you don't get to dictate anything. You don't get to dictate if a film actually happens. You don't get to dictate when it is shot, how it is shot, if you can ever speak about it to the public. You are simply just there to show up and say your lines and look the way they want you to look.
But even as fans fantasized about a fresh start, Rachel Zegler's disaster kept getting worse. That's when a new twist slapped the internet across the face. Leaked reports claiming that Rachel was, in private, blaming Peter Dinklage for the whole film falling apart. The story? According to insiders, Rachel believed Dinklage's early critiques caused Disney to panic, forcing rushed, sloppy rewrites that wrecked the movie's tone and, by extension, sabotaged her performance. Her frustrations made sense to some. How could you shine when the story kept shifting around you like quicksand?
Snow White is the first American feature-length animated movie, 1937. It's one of the most beloved movies of all time.
But not everyone was buying it. Some voices pushed back, saying the problems ran way deeper than just the dwarfs. The film, they argued, was a mess, full of clunky tonal shifts, heavy-handed themes, and a tragic lack of fairy tale magic. Sure, Dinklage may have lit the match, but the firestorm? That was Disney's doing.
On the original production, I was scared of it. Oh, it was so weird. It was a stalker. Like, I feel like if you are taking on the most iconic Disney role ever, genuinely, like this was the most prolific Disney film, I feel like you should kind of have some sort of reverence for the original production.
If the studio panicked and overcorrected after Dinklage's comments, well, it wasn't hard to imagine how things spiraled. In that light, Rachel's alleged frustrations didn't seem so far-fetched. By the time Snow White finally dragged itself into theaters, it was already buried under months of negative buzz and sinking expectations. The reviews? Brutal. Critics ripped it apart, calling the story disjointed, a Frankenstein monster stitched together by panicked rewrites and half-hearted nods to modernization. The dwarfs, once iconic, now felt like hollow shells of themselves, awkward, uncomfortable, and totally out of place.
She's also just a spoiled, entitled, narcissistic brat who was perfectly willing, because she's not well, she might be stupid, but she's not so dumb that she didn't realize that by, for example, coming out and saying that all Trump supporters deserve to suffer for like she's smart enough to know that of course that's going to upset a large portion of the potential audience for this project that I'm on.
Rachel's performance, divisive at best. Some praised her for trying her best despite the chaos, but others insisted she was simply wrong for the role. Miscast, misdirected, and lost in the confusion. And what about Peter Dinklage? He kept his lips sealed. His silence only made the whispers louder. Was he ashamed of what the movie became? Did he feel guilty for lighting the fuse? Rachel, meanwhile, couldn't breathe without someone dissecting her every move. Every interview, every Instagram post was picked apart. Was she shading Dinklage?
And this started with the movie star Rachel Zegler, who I believe would be categorized as a loudmouth dope.
The movie's release came and went with barely a whimper. It didn't bomb spectacularly. It just fizzled, failing to make any real impact either critically or financially. And inside Hollywood, Snow White was immediately branded a cautionary tale. A perfect example of what happens when a movie tries to be everything to everyone and ends up pleasing no one. Analysts pointed fingers everywhere, at Disney for rushing changes, at Dinklage for starting the controversy, and at Zegler for being caught in the crossfire, but doing little to stop the bleeding.